Henry lived in a town with his wife, Elizabeth, and their son, Louis. They loved Louis very much and gave him everything he wanted. But too much love made him spoiled. He often made fun of his classmates and annoyed the neighbors. Henry and Elizabeth were not happy about this. They never thought their love could spoil their only child. They tried to teach Louis to behave well, but he never listened. His best friend, Mike, was also worried. He tried to stop Louis many times, but nothing worked. One day, after break time, Louis and Mike were walking back to class. On the way, Louis saw John, the topper student of his class. He didn't like John.
He always beats me in class,
Louis thought. He smiled to himself.
Time to teach him a lesson.
As John walked past, Louis quickly stuck out his leg. John tripped and fell hard.
Oh no!
He cried. Other students nearby stopped. One rushed over.
Are you okay?
He asked and helped John stand up. Mike shook his head. He knew Louis did it. Louis said in a soft voice,
Are you okay, John?
John looked at him, holding back his anger.
I'm okay, Louis,
he said and walked to class. Mike sighed.
That wasn't right.
Louis just laughed.
Let's go. We're getting late.
One evening, Louis was coming back from the stationery shop. On the way, he saw Mrs. Kate walking home. She was carrying her baby, who was sleeping peacefully. As Louis passed by, he smiled and let out a sharp whistle. The baby woke up with a start and began crying loudly. Mrs. Kate looked shocked. She gently patted the baby.
It's okay, baby.
But the baby didn't stop. Louis looked back and smirked, then walked away without a word. Mrs. Kate watched Louis walk away and muttered to herself,
Why does he always try to hurt others?
One day, during the fourth period, Louis leaned over and whispered,
Mike, I am so hungry.
Mike smiled.
Break time is near. You know, my dear.
Louis nodded. As soon as the bell rang, they rushed out and opened their lunch boxes. A new boy, Henry, sat quietly beside Mike. Louis looked at his lunch.
Only biscuits?
He said loudly. Then, turning to Henry, he said with a smile,
You can share our sandwich.
Then he said to Mike softly,
You know Mike. Henry comes from a poor family. We should help.
Henry's eyes filled with tears. He swallowed and said,
No thanks, Louis. I have my biscuits. That's enough.
Mike stared at Louis for a moment, then turned to Henry.
Please take some.
he said and gently placed a sandwich in Henry's lunchbox. Henry tried to give it back, but Mike stopped him.
You are our friend. Please don't return it.
Henry smiled.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike began chatting with him, while Louis stood up and walked off to the canteen for juice. One Sunday evening, Louis bought some snacks and walked home. As he passed Mr. Charlie's house, a silly thought came to his mind. He rang the doorbell and quickly ran away, laughing to himself. But Louis didn't know. Mr. Charlie had seen him from the window. At home, Elizabeth served tea. The family sat in the lounge, enjoying tea and snacks. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Harry got up and opened the door. Mr. Charlie stood outside.
Harry, your son Louis rang my bell and ran off.
He said calmly.
I saw him myself.
Louis and Elizabeth heard everything from the lounge. Elizabeth looked at Louis, her eyes sharp.
I'm sorry, Mr. Charlie. I will speak to him.
Mr. Charlie nodded and left. Harry returned to the lounge.
Louis, why did you do that?
He scolded. Louis lowered his head. He didn't say a word. He quietly got up and went to his room. Elizabeth and Harry watched him go, both silent and disappointed. A few days later, Louis was in the kitchen, eating a banana. He carelessly threw the peel on the floor. Elizabeth saw it and frowned.
Louis, what are you doing? Pick that up right now.
She left the kitchen. But Louis peeled another banana and dropped the peel again. Just then, Harry walked into the kitchen in a hurry. His foot slipped on the peel.
Oh God!
He shouted as he fell hard to the floor. Louis froze. His heart sank.
Dad! Mom!
He cried out, running to him. Elizabeth rushed in.
Oh no!
She gasped. Together, they helped Harry into the lounge. Elizabeth quickly called the doctor. The doctor arrived, checked him, and gave him an injection.
There's no fracture.
He said with a kind smile.
He will be fine soon.
After the doctor left, Louis sat beside Harry, his eyes full of guilt.
Dad, this happened because of me. I'm really sorry.
Harry looked at him and smiled gently.
It's okay, sweetheart. I hope you've learned now. You often try to hurt others.
Louis nodded.
Yes, Dad. I won't hurt anyone again. I promise.
Moral: too much love can spoil a child.